Good morning, guys. Welcome to another week of online learning. And we are going to wrap up the last thing that we really need to learn this year. So this is our very last topic of the year. It's kind of exciting. We are going to be talking about metric measurement. Okay, so our learning target is I can convert different size of measurement units in the metric system. So last week we talked about Okay, so here's our basic vocabulary for the metric system. The first thing we need to talk about are the base units. There are three main units for the metric system. First, we have meter, and that's how we measure lengths in the metric system. So we've got, meters, centimeters, millimeters, kilometers. That's all length or distance. And then we have liters. Liters are what we use to measure capacity. And the way I remember that one is liters, they measure liquid. So they both start with L, liters, liquid. And then lastly, we have grams, so like milligram, gram, kilogram. Those are used to measure the weight. So let's take a look at some of these vocabulary words. First, the prefix kilo, that means 1,000. So a kilometer or kilometer, a lot of people call it kilometer. There's different ways to pronounce it. That is 1,000 meters. A kiloliter is 1,000 liters, and a kilogram is 1,000 grams. And then we have hecto. This is a prefix that means 100. Next, we have deca, a prefix that means 10. So if you think of like decade is 10 years, that's an easy way to remember that deca means 10. And then deci with an I, that means 1/10 or 0.1. And a way to remember that is a decimal, starts with DECI, and that's exactly what this is. It's a decimal number, 0.1 or 1/10. Next, we have centi, which means 100th. Like a centigram or a centimeter is 100th of a meter. And then lastly, we have milli, and milli means 1,000th. So a milligram is 1,000th of a gram. Okay, so I want to take a minute and compare what we've been learning in the customary system to what we're learning this week in the metric system. All right, let's break it down to one unit at a time. So when we're talking about length, in the customary system that we use here in the United States, we have inches, feet, yards, and miles. In the metric system, these are the main units of measurement, the ones that are used the most. It's not all of them, but it's the ones that are used the most. Millimeters, centimeters, meters, and kilometers. Those are the most commonly used ones for length. Okay, next is capacity or liquid. So in the customary system, we use fluid ounces, cups, pints, quarts, and gallons. And in the metric system, they use milliliters and liters. And lastly, to measure weight or mass, in the customary system here in the United States, we use ounces, pounds, and tons. And in the metric system, there are milligrams, grams, and kilograms. Again, there are more. Those are just the three most commonly used units of measurement for mass. Okay, so you may have learned this before, and we're going to go through it again. Let's meet King Henry. So maybe you've learned this before. King Henry died while drinking chocolate milk. Or this, maybe you learned King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. The W in while, right there, and the B in by, both stand for the unit. The W stands for whole unit, and the B stands for basic unit. But we're going to use this one, okay? A little bit different this year. It's a little bit less confusing, and it's less morbid. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. The U in this one stands for unit. So let's talk about what the other capital letters mean. All right, so we're going to use King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. So I'm talking about these words here. We're going to talk about, this is a little saying to help you remember what all of these prefixes are and what order they go in. So we're going to start with King. King stands for kilo, which is 1,000 units. So for instance, remember, usually stands for unit, like a meter, a liter, or a gram. So a kilometer is 1,000 meters. It's 1,000 times larger than 1 meter. Henry stands for hecto. It's the next largest one, and it's 100 times more than 1 unit, 1 base unit. So a hectometer is 100 times more than 1 meter. Doesn't usually stands for deca, and that is 10 times larger. So I want you to notice, right here is 1, okay? Think of the number 1, that's for the base unit. Every time you go to the left this way, it's getting larger by a power of 10. This doesn't is 10 times larger than usually. Henry is 100 times larger than usually. And King is 1,000 times larger than usually. So that's where this comes in. Okay? And this is going to relate back to our powers of 10 we did at the beginning of the year. So if we're talking about meters, deca is 10 times bigger than a meter. Hecto is 100 times bigger than a meter. And kilo is 1,000 times bigger than a meter. So now we're going to go to the right, and we're going to talk about numbers that are less than 1 basic unit, okay? Drink stands for deci. That's 10 times smaller than a unit, or 1/10 of the basic unit. Centi is 100 times smaller, so that's 1/100th of a basic unit. That's supposed to be a 1, not an L. Sorry, guys. And then milli is 1,000th of a basic unit. So basically, it would take 10 deciunits to equal 1 unit. So 10 decimeters equals 1 meter. 100 centimeters equals 1 meter. And 1,000 millimeters equals 1 meter. Don't worry if you're confused. We are going to go through this together. Okay, we're still going to use our horse to fly, you multiply, and fly to horse divide, of course. So here's just a refresher on that. So I want you to think back to the beginning of the year when we did powers of 10. Do you remember donkeys love mini rainbows? Well, that's going to help you out a lot with this. When you convert smaller units to larger units, you need to divide. Fly to horse divide, of course. When you divide, you move your decimal to the left. Donkeys love. Remember that? Decimal left. When you convert larger units to smaller units, you need to multiply. Horse to fly, you multiply. When you multiply, you move your decimal to the right. Remember, many rainbows. So many rainbows, multiply, go to the right. Donkeys love, divide, you go to the left. Donkeys love many rainbows. Divide left, multiply right. Remember that, and you are going to be good to go. So let's take a look at our first problem. It says, using a map, Alex estimates a distance between his house and his grandparents' house to be about 15,000 meters. About how many kilometers away from his grandparents' house does Alex live? Okay, let's take a look at this. So our main job right now is right here. We need to convert 15,000 meters to kilometers. So 15,000 meters. Meters is our smaller unit, so this is our fly. And kilometers is our larger unit, that's our horse. Fly to horse, divide, of course. Okay, so we are going to divide 15,000 by the number of little meters in 1 big kilometer. So 15,000. So our step 1 is to use the table to remind ourselves that there are 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. Okay, so 1 kilometer or 1 meter is equal to 1,000 kilometers. So here's our fly, 15,000. We're going to divide by the number of little meters in 1 kilometer, which is 1,000. And we're going to end up with our horse, which is kilometers. So fly to horse, you divide, of course, and we're dividing by 1,000. 15,000 divided by 1,000 is 15. Now, I want to show you the easiest way to do this. Use your knowledge of powers of 10, okay? If we're going to start with the number 15,000, okay, which is right here written in with the blue zeros. So I can do it again for you. Remember, our decimal point is at the end if we don't see it. Whoops. We want to go to kilometers. So we need to move 1, 2, 3 times to the left. We're dividing, we go to the left. Remember, donkeys love. So we're gonna move our decimal 1, 2, 3 times to the left and plop it down right there. And that ends up with the number 15 with a decimal behind it, which we know that you don't need to write if there's nothing behind it. So it's just 15. Okay, so Alex estimates the distance is 15,000 meters. How many kilometers does it live? The answer was 15 to that one. All right, let's look at a new problem. Jamie made a bracelet 1.8 decimeters long. How many millimeters long is Jamie's bracelet? Okay, we are going from decimeters to millimeters. So we are going from our horse to our fly. This is larger, this is smaller. So horse to fly, we multiply. When we multiply, we move to the right. Remember, many rainbows. So if we're going from deci, remember this is King Henry doesn't usually, this is our unit, drink chocolate milk. So we're going from drink to milk. So 1.8, we're just going to move our decimal 2 times over to the right because we're multiplying, and we get 180 millimeters long. There's a song if you want to hear it. Okay, let's look at a couple of these together. Okay, we're going to take a look at the very first one that says convert 247 milligrams to centigrams, decigrams, and grams. So we're going to do these one at a time. So the first one, 247 milligrams. So I'm going to put that right here. We're at 247 milligrams. And remember, our decimal is at the end if you don't see it. We want to go to centigrams. So milligrams is our fly, centigrams is our horse, fly to horse, divide, of course. So that's what goes here. We're going to divide by 10. Whoops. Oh, this is not cooperating. There we go. Divide by 10. And remember, donkeys love. Divide, you go to the left. So we're going to move our decimal point 1 spot, because look, it's just 1 spot from centi to milli. So we end up with 24.7. So we just moved it 1 spot. Sorry, this is messy. This is very difficult to write on. All right, let me erase that and let's go to the next one. I'm going to erase all of that, and we're going to start over. Okay, we're still starting with 247 milligrams. Remember our decimal points at the end. Now we're trying to go to decigrams. So we need to move 2 spots, which is dividing by 100. We're still dividing because we're still going fly to horse. We're still going from a smaller unit to a larger unit. Fly to horse, divide, of course. When we divide, we go to the left. Donkeys love. But this time we're going to move our decimal 2 places. So we move it once, gives us 24.7. Move it one more time, and we end up with 2.47 decigrams. Okay, next one. Still starting with milligrams, so I'm just going to leave that. That's still our fly, but now we're going to grams. We're going all the way over here to our basic unit. So we're still going fly to horse, divide, of course, so we're still dividing. Oops. And then we're going to move 1, 2, 3 times. 3 times to the left, because remember, divide, we go to the left. Donkeys love. So if we move our decimal point 3 times, it's going to land right here in front of the 2. So we'll have 0.247, and we should put a 0 placeholder in the front. So 0.247 grams. Do you notice every time we went to the left one more spot, we were dividing by another 10, another power of 10. First we divided by 10, then we divided by 100, and then we divided by 1,000. All right, let's jump over to the next one, to B, metric capacity. Instead of weight, this time we're talking about liquids. Let me erase this and we'll start over. All right, we'll use green this time. Okay, we're going to start at hectoliters. That's all the way over here, and that's not a commonly used unit of measurement, but it is one you still should know how to work with. So we're going to start right here, 3.9 hectoliters, and we are going to go to decaliters. Do you notice the difference here? This DA stands for deca. Well, if you just have the lowercase d like we did over here, that's deci. So the DA is deca. So decaliters. So we're going from hectoliters to decaliters. Okay? We are going from horse to fly. So hectoliters is our larger unit. Decaliters is our smaller unit. Horse to fly, we multiply. When you multiply, you move to the right. Remember, donkeys love many rainbows. Many rainbows, multiply right. So we are going to multiply times 10 to get to decaliters. So I'm going to take my decimal and move it 1 spot over, and that would give me 39 decaliters. Okay, we're going to do it again. This time we're going to start at hectoliters, but we're going to move over to our basic unit, which is liters. So we're going to start at hectoliters, and we're going to move 2 times toward the L, which is liters. That's our unit. And we're going to have to move twice. So we move our decimal once, that gives us 39. Move it one more time, that gives us 390. So 390 liters. Okay, last one. We're still starting at hectoliters with 3.9. And this time we're going to deciliters. So we're moving to the right 1, 2, 3 times. So we're multiplying because we're going to the right. 3 times. So we move it once, it gives us 39. Move it again, we get 390. Move it one more time, 3,900 deciliters. Okay, so to do this, you just find your starting point on the King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. Find your ending point and move in that direction. Okay, I would like for you to try these on your own. So I'll get you started. What you should always do is write your little sentence down if it's already not there for you. But then I want you to pause the video and try these on your own, and then come back and check your work against mine. So let's start by just writing the sentence down here at the bottom. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate, I'm going to abbreviate that, milk. Okay? And remember what they stand for. This is kilo, this is hecto, this is deca, and the abbreviation is DA. This is your unit, and remember we have three main units. We have liters, grams, and meters. Drink stands for deci. Whoops. Chocolate stands for centi. And milk stands for milli. All right, so use that to help you. I want you to try the first one, pause the video, give it a shot, come back and check your work. Okay, hopefully you had a chance to try number one. So let's look at it together now, okay? We are starting with 8.47 liters. Well, if you look at this sentence, there's no L. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. There's no words that start with L. So you're probably thinking, what in the world do I do, Mrs. Feldman? Well, remember, the U stands for the unit, and that's where your L is, liters. So we're starting right here, your basic liters. And we need to go to deciliters. Well, deciliters is right here next door. So we just have to move one time to the right. Well, when we're moving to the right, we are multiplying. Remember many rainbows? Multiply right. So we are multiplying times 10. And if we move our decimal just one spot, you get 84.7 deciliters. Okay, for the next one, again, you're starting in the same spot, liters, but this time we're going to centiliters. So we're going to move from the usually, the liters, once, twice to centiliters. Moving 2 times to the right, so we're going to move our decimal 2 times over, and that would put it at the very end, so that would give us a number of 847 centiliters. And for the last one, we're still starting at the same spot, liters. This time we're moving all the way to milliliters. So we've got to move 1, 2, 3 times over to the right. So again, we're multiplying. I forgot to put that there. We're multiplying because we're going to the right times 1,000. That's 10 times 10 times 10. Each hop is 10. So we're going to just move our decimal to the right 3 times. So when we moved it 2 times, it gave us 847. Well, we've got to move it one more time over to the right, which will give us a blank spot. And you guys know that you always fill in your blank spots with zeros. So 8,470. Okay, I'd like you to pause the video and try number 2. Okay, hopefully you had a chance to try number 2. We're going to start again by writing our sentence at the bottom. Oops, maybe the pen. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. Okay, so this time we could look at our starting spot, decigrams. We're starting at decigrams. That's right here with the drink. And we're going to grams. So grams is our basic unit. Remember, grams is one of our 3 basic units. So we are moving to the left. So when we're moving to the left one spot, we are dividing. Remember, donkeys love, divide left. So if we move one spot to the left, our decimal is at the end of this number. If we don't see it, we're going to move it one spot over, and we get 982.4 grams. On the next one, we're still starting at decigrams, but this time we're going to decagrams. That's all the way down here at the doesn't. Decagrams. So this time we're moving once to grams and then again to decagrams. So we're still going to the left. We're still dividing by 100. So every hop is 10. 10 times 10 is 100. So we have to move our decimal 2 spots. So if we move it 2 spots, it's going to land right there between the 8 and the 2. So 98.24 decagrams. All right, last one. We're still starting at the same spot, decigrams, but we're moving all the way to hectograms. So once to grams, a second time to decagrams, a third time to hectograms, which is Henry. So 3 times, we're still going to the left, so we're still dividing. Move our decimal 3 times to the left, and it's going to land between the 9 and the 8. So we have 9.824 hectograms. Okay, so this is a basic chart you want to use. If you can print this slide, that would be fabulous. If not, just write it down, take some notes. This is going to help you on all of your problems. If you have any questions, you know I'm available to help you every day. You can email me. You can, if you want help at 12, just reach out, let me know, so I know how many kids to be prepared for. If it's only 1 or 2, I can do it on our Kahoot. On our Zoom. But if it's more kids, then I need to hook up my DotCam. So just let me know if you need some help at 12. Just remember, King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. Find your starting spot, move to the left or to the right, and just move your decimal that many times to the place where you need to end. Okay, I miss you guys. I will see you soon.